So guys, before we get started, don't forget we do have that amazing discount code thanks to Tier 0 Games going on right now. And all you have to do is put in ZWGames5 to get 5% discount on your total order at tier0games.com. The links will be in the description below. What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr Games, bringing you a meta contender, as I mentioned in my meta underdog video that I went out the other day as well. So for this meta underdog video, what I'm going to be bringing you is Salamangreats, probably one of the better decks as a meta contender because it can be made on a budget as well. So, with that being said, I'm going to drive straight into the profile. Please smash the like button, hit the notification bell and subscribe so you do not miss out on anything. With that being said, let's take a look at one of the probably biggest underdog meta contenders of the upcoming format, whether it be online or hopefully in freedom once the kind of lockdown ends. So, we start off in this Salamangreat build running free Spinny. Now this is just your free extender, and we do run another extender in the deck as well. So Spinny is just there for your extension plays in order to get you where you need to go and to get kind of extending your board. Previously, it was used to go into your Morris Stalio. Morris Stalio is now banned. You're now using it just to get into your Sunlight Wolf because that is now the most important extra deck card in the deck, in my opinion. We've then got Salamangreat Foxy, again abilities to get into your Gazelle, abilities to get into any of your Salamangreat cards should you mill. The worst thing is when it whiffs and it doesn't mill the correct cards that you need, but it does happen, it's just the way that this deck rolls. The one Gazelle, because it is now at 1, 2 Yugioh. Obviously most of the time this was coming off of Morris Stalio, which is why we've had to bump it up to 2. Most of this you're getting in OTS Supers or you're getting it within the structure deck itself. We've then got the one Falco alongside the one Foul and the one Mole. These are just all extenders in their own rights. Mole's quite good in the late game to shuffle back your materials, not that you need to, but it's just there as a free extender for the deck as well. And like I said, I tried to keep this budget. You can put Phantasmes in here to bump the budget up a little bit more, but you don't really need to. This is all you kind of need to get going. And then you've got triple Lady Debug and double Buffalo. Now I actually agree with this ratio over most. I know there's a lot of people, if anything, I'd probably want to cut a Lady Debug down 1 because it just doesn't help you extend as much. Buffalo gives you the nice ditch and draw 2, so if you do have your Gazelle, there's still one way of getting Gazelle out. Whereas Lady Debug, because you go into your Balinks and search out your your Gazelle, you then have to turn use the Balinks to reincarnate into itself just to get the Gazelle to go off. So it's a little bit of a long-winded play, which is why I don't really like it, but I can understand why it's required. And then finishing off the monsters, we've got triple Ash Blossom. This is a guarantee in this deck, but just because you can recycle it, you can add them back, you can resolve them a lot more times than you really need to. And then for the other hand tracks, you can put in whatever you want, but at the moment I've got double DD Crow and double Ghost Ogre. This can be anything that kind of filters to the meta. If Ghost Spell becomes relevant, you put in Ghost Spells. If you want to, you can main Nibiru's. I think Ghost Ogre is actually a very, very underrated hand trap right now, just because there's a lot of cards out there that do the effects, but then can't really go further if they're no longer on the board. So Ash Blossom is the most powerful hand trap in my opinion, or the most generic one throughout. But then Ghost Ogre right now, because not a lot of people expect it, they're like, okay, cool, I'm going to activate my effect, and they know their play going forward with that monster to stay on the board. So if their monster wasn't to stay on the board, or if the spell that they activate that was a continuous doesn't stay on the board, their effect will then fizzle, and it just means that their whole strategy comes crashing down because they're not expecting a Ghost Ogre. So do not sleep on Ghost Ogre, highly, highly rated in my opinion. And DD Crow is insanely good just to be able to go, alright, take out the Spinny, take out the card you're trying to bring back with your Shadows, take back anything like that. No idea what just fell, is what it is. And then it just plays with the graveyard a lot better. So it's definitely a turn 0 call by the grave in a sense without negating. Then for the spells, the reason this deck can be made budget is because you can now play triple Signet Mining because of the reprint in Dual Overload. So definitely put this up quite nice and easily. They were about 7 to 10 quid each. I think it's worth it for a card like this. And we've also had confirmation that the tins are coming out in August, which will contain a Dark Neostorm reprint. There's no guarantee that mining will be in there, but there is a high possibility that it will get another reprint as well. And then triple Call by the Grave, it sucks more than anything if your Gazelle gets banished, if your... it sucks more than anything if your searches get negated, so like your Lady Debug. It sucks if your Spinny is DD crowed, if your Gazelle's DD crowed, if your Balinks are DD crowed, so Call by the Grave is pretty much a must in order to protect them from that. Double Will, just for additional extensions, and the fact that this continuously stay on the field, it's another reason that you can hit Ghost Ogre as well. But this just allows you to keep your materials going, bring back the link monsters should you need to, and it also helps you get into one of the win cons in the deck that I've put in that not a lot of people play, which I'm quite surprised by, because I really think it's a nice win con that gives you both a win in time and a win that not a lot of people are expecting. And then the one Sanctuary, best card of the deck, and the Achilles heel, because the second you get rid of this, they can struggle to get their links going, but they do have such a good resource management within the deck. It's probably one of the best out there to maintain their resources from the graveyard. So even with 0 cards in hand, they can still keep going. And Sanctuary is a very, very good card in order to keep them, allow them to link reincarnate to end up climbing the board. Then got the one Foolish Burial, the one Salamangreat Circle, and the one card that I like to play in this deck is the Salamangreat Transcendence. You don't have to play this. I just think again, it's a card that not a lot of people are expecting, not a lot of people are playing. So when you search it and set it, your opponent's like, alright, cool, cool, whatever, let's go with it. You make your Pyro Phoenix, and then you quick play, turn the Pyro Phoenix into another one during their turn, and you get to nuke the board. So not only has Pyro Phoenix allowed you to pretty much revive a card if they've got it in the graveyard already to burn them out, it does give you another way of going, alright, cool. And also if you mix it up with the trap as well, you can pop 4 cards, I believe. And then for the traps, pretty much standard lineup on this one is double Roar and double Rage. Again, incredibly powerful cards, searchable, recurable, everything you needable. Very, very powerful card, very, very good. And both of them really, really need to be at 2 because, again, if these get crowed, because you've got the second one, you can go through it. Now, I know people play Desires as well. You can easily put Desires into this deck, no argument about that whatsoever. I just personally have chosen not to, just for the fact that in order for you to play Desires and resolve Desires correctly without having to worry too much about it, you have to make sure you get your Gazelle and you have to make sure you get your Sanctuary, because if you Desires at a desperate measure, not for extension, and you lose those cards, the deck becomes a little bit harder to play around as well. So that's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. Again, quite a straight standard lineup on this one. You've got the one Abyss Dweller. So your board was like Mirage Stalio with Sunlight Wolf with Abyss Dweller. Now you kind of want to go with Sunlight Wolf and Abyss Dweller. The best thing is you can make this as early as possible now that we're in Master Rule 5 and put this wherever you want, and then continue to build your link board with your Salamangreats. For the link 2s, we've got the Heater, and then we've got the Nightmare Phoenix alongside, where are we? Your Update Jammer. So this is another win con. So we now technically have like 3 win cons in our extra deck. It just gives you a little bit more versatility. So Update Jammer with your Transcode Talker gives you your second win con in the deck as well. And just imagine going first, like you set yourself up with a Roar, a Rage, and an Abyss Dweller as well with a Sunlight Wolf. You've pretty much got your outs to my personal opinion of the best deck right now, the format, and that's like Shadow Invoked. We then, for the Salamangreat Link monsters, you've got triple Balinks, quite standard on that one. Triple Wolf, again, you need to make sure you recycle these, you go through these like no tomorrow. Double Heat Leo, and double Pyro Phoenix. Now, not a lot of people play Pyro Phoenix, like I said. You can easily take it out for like a Borrow Load, Borrow Sword, an Avramax should you want. But like I said, I've tried to keep this on a budget as well. So I tried to keep it budget and give you as many win cons as possible and make sure that it's competitive and meta relevant. And this deck can certainly do that. Like I said, it's probably one of the best in the game right now for resource management. It can out certain decks like Shadows. It can struggle against them, but if played correctly and if you open up the correct hand, you can out them very, very easily. And this was the deck that won the most recent YCS, and it hasn't really been affected that much from the ban list, so that's why it's still one of my personal meta contenders. And it's why I also consider it as an underdog as well, is because a lot of people don't either see it scraping along the top 5 or don't see it at all. And it's one of them decks that people are like, right, it's past its prime, it can't compete, it's a link deck, it's going into Marshall 5, all the non-link decks are going to like blossom in this. Not the case. Not the case at all. Salamangreats is one of the best resource managements, board clears, and has a lot of surprises in store for those that don't know how to play around it. And there's a lot of players out there that have been playing Salamangreats since day 1 and actually going to keep doing that going forward as well. So they've got no real reason not to. And they can just keep adapting and get better and better. So that's it for the Salamangreat deck profile. Like I said, it is one that I personally feel is going to be a meta contender. It's one that I personally feel can cause a lot of issues for your opponent. And it's also one that I feel will still win events when they come back around. And it'll still be very, very good. So without a doubt, stick with them, keep them going, Like, comment, subscribe, share, and until next time, guys, where I bring you my non-budget meta contender, Underdog. See you then. So like, comment, subscribe, share, and as always, happy dueling.